people? How you doing? I hope you're having a damn good day. You will never believe what I just did. I damn well recorded everything. I thought I was good. I hit the record button on all three things, I thought. Did it, finished it. I was like, oh, we're sick. Realized I did not record on my PlayStation. So, it's kind of a howler from me, but it's fine. Second time's a charm. Practice makes perfect. But without further ado, we will be talking about Jurgen Klopp's 3-2-4-1 box formation, replicating what Pep did last season to try and, help him win the treble. And this is more or less to try and get the best out of Trent Alexander-Arnold, taking him out the defensive firing line, putting him into the midfield, getting the best out of him, hopefully, going forward. But yes, it is a slight variation and differentiation of Pep's system. Of course, there are different players and they have different skill sets, so it's not exactly the same. Don't think, I've watched Pep's version, so it's the same. It's not. Believe me, you will find out. So, going through the team, of course, we've got Darwin Núñez, we've got Diaz, McAllister, Szoboszlai, Salah, we've got Trent, Fabinho, Robertson, Alisson, Konate, and of course, Captain Van Dijk. We've also got Jota, Gakpo, Jones, Thiago, Kelleher, Gomez, and Matip on the bench, and then of course, we've got a few other decent reserve players. It is a fairly thin team. They need to make some changes. And of course, the big one is Robertson being a left-sided centre-back. In FIFA, guys, don't worry. In FIFA, it works out quite well. He is pacey. He does have loads of stamina. But if this is real life, they need to sign a left-sided centre-back ASAP if they are looking to more or less play this formation. But speaking of the formation, we have one striker, two cams, two DMs, two wingers, three centre-backs, and one goalkeeper, of course. Now, as for the tactic play and everything, all the good stuff, Jurgen Klopp is more or less looking to go back to how Liverpool used to play, that rock and roll football, where just loads of energy was exerted. And this system more or less gets that out of the players. Of course, you have 7 attacking players just to shove into the opposition half. And more or less how Liverpool used to play was they would just make sure that the opposition half was just packed with Liverpool players. I mean, the centre-backs used to stay on the halfway line and just make sure any loose balls were just swept up nicely and passed back, rotated play, and just piled on the pressure. And that's what this is going to do. I have it set to press after possession loss. The width is set to 55 and the depth is set to 70. The depth makes sense. Jurgen Klopp has always played a high line wherever he's gone, however he's done it. It's always been a high line defense. Liverpool have obviously done a very good job over the years. And I think with this back three, it is a pacey back three. Of course, we do have Van Dijk, who is slowing down, but you've got the likes of Robertson and Konate, who've got loads of recovery pace. They are fairly decent at it. As for the width, it is a fairly wide formation as it is, so you kind of want to more or less bring it in and make sure that box in the middle of the field, nothing gets through it. If the opposition is looking to attack through you, and centrally, of course, it's not going to help. The best way for the opposition to get around this formation is to more or less fire crosses into the box and go out wide and attack through the wingers. But then, of course, you've got 3 strong centre-backs that can win more or less every single aerial duel. I mean, you've got Van Dijk and you've got Daniel Konate, and of course, you've got Robertson. But of course, then you also have Fabinho, who is very capable of winning the ball in the air. So it is a very good formation to have and a fairly strong one going forward for this Liverpool team. But as for the offense, this is more or less why everybody's here. I have it set to balanced as well as forward runs for the build-up play and chance creation. Now, for balanced, the reason behind it is you can have it set to fast, but then it just allows players just to bomb on forward and be out of position, and it kind of disrupts the pace of play and the build-up, because then you're forcing yourself to make passes that you don't really want to make, and that kind of doesn't get the best out of the Trents, out of the Szoboszlais or the McAllisters. So I have it set to balance because you can have that fast-paced, physical play, catching the opposition out from time to time, but you also want to have the ability to control the game and just calm down things if you're looking to just see out a game and get Trent on the ball and so on. So that is the thought process behind the balanced build-up play. As for the chance creation, you want your forwards to be making runs into the box, pulling players out of position, stretching the opposition's defense. The likes of Núñez, Salah, and Diaz, you want them in the box. More players in the box equals more opportunities, equals more potential goals. But also what that does is, because you've pulled players out of position, it creates space in behind them for the likes of a Szoboszlai or a McAllister to potentially pick up the ball and have free room to shoot and score potential goals, hopefully. So that is the thought process behind it, of course. As for the width, we have it set to 70. You want your wide players in your Mohamed Salah, your potential Szoboszlais or your McAllisters to be able to create out wide, fire crosses into the box for your forwards to latch onto, your Darwin Nunez, your Salah, your Diaz, maybe your Szoboszlai or your McAllisters. So you want that to at least work. Of course, you want Trent operating the right wide side of the field. And it does work out quite well. But in terms of players on the box, you have it set to 8. More players in the box equals more opportunities, and it just creates more pressure on the offense, on the opposition's defense, I should say. And it just causes them to make more and more mistakes. As for your corners and your free kicks, it is both set to 4. Goes without saying, it is always more or less set to 4. Okay, as for the instructions, we have Alisson, of course, he is set to be a sweeper keeper and come for crosses. He's going to command his box, claim aerial balls. Of course, he's fantastic at doing that. And of course, he is very, very tall. I think he's like 6'4 or 6'5, which is an incredible height, to be fair. But he's also really good at just being able to pick up the ball, run off of his line, be super calm under pressure, spray passes 50, 40, 60 yards, I don't know, and just bring other players into play. And that's why the likes of Van Dijk, Robertson and Konate are going to be so pivotal going forward for this formation to work, because they need to make themselves available in the space that they do have. They need to be able to receive the ball on the half turn and then be able to play it forward and create a nice little build-up of the offense. But speaking of those players, we've got Robertson and Konate, the left and the right sided centre-backs. They have the same instructions, set to join the attack and step up. So you want them to be aggressive, going into the opposition, making sure the wingers or the wide players of the opposition, their lives are living hell, because you want them to be as aggressive as possible with those players. Of course, not fouling them in the box or anything weird like that. But at the same time, you want them, when you do have the ball, to be more involved in the build-up play. Of course, the base is your defensive 3. So you want Robertson and Konate flaring out wide into the space that's available to them to receive the ball, receive passes, be able to knit the play quite well with either a Fabinho or a Trent, and just help draw the opposition in on them so that they can then fire balls and over the top for the likes of a running Darwin Nunez or a Salah, or potentially a Diaz, of course. As for Van Dijk, he is set to the base set of instructions. You don't really want to fiddle with anything that he has to offer. He is going to be your deepest outfield player. So he is going to help rotate possession and make sure things are ticking over quite nicely. He can also spray the ball 30 or 40, maybe even 50 yards. Him and Trent will more or less have that role where you will be looking for the runners of the Mohamed Salah and the Diaz who get in behind and to try and exploit the opposition's defensive line. Speaking of Trent, we have him set to cut passing lanes, balance attack, normal interceptions, cover the wing, and deep lying playmaker. So more or less for this role, Trent will from time to time slide over to the right and more or less look like a right back, which is quite nice. It's a very realistic approach to how Liverpool played over those last, 10 games or so. That was more or less when they did use this formation, which I quite liked. Of course, he is set to cut out the passing lanes. Of course, you want him patrolling, still having a little bit of a defensive chore or job to do, but it does allow him to have more offensive freedom in being the deep lying playmaker. The minute he gets on the ball, you need to look for your Mohamed Salahs or your Diaz's or your forward line players to get them more involved in the play. And every time I did in the gameplay above, I always sprayed it out wide to try and replicate that. And that, I think, is the role that Trent is going to have going forward. Being able to pick up the ball, create for others, more or less be a point guard of this Liverpool team, or a quarterback. Depends on how you look at it. As for Fabinho, his defensive midfield partner, he is set to cut passing lanes, stay back while attacking, cover the centre, and then stick to his position. So he will more or less be that shield in front of your back 3, sweeping up play. He was very, very good at it. His instructions are very solid. I think it replicates how he plays in real life very well, or at least how he used to play very well in real life. Really, really good set of instructions for him. If it's potentially a Caicedo or a Lavia that come in, maybe there's some slight alterations to the set of instructions, but otherwise a very solid position for Fabinho. As for McAllister, he is set to basic defensive support, get into the box, stick to position, and then aggressive interception. Sorry, I've been talking quite a bit because I've done this twice. Anyway, So I've seen McAllister more or less as the Ilkay Gundogan role, so he'll be making the late runs into the box. He'll be the midfielder that is the most attacking or the furthest forward out of the four midfielders that you do have. And I think it does suit McAllister quite well, this position. So yes, I think he's got the legs to do it as well. He's going to make loads of runs. He's going to run off of the shoulder of Darwin Núñez from time to time and also pick up those loose balls that do fall in the box. Now, as for his other midfield partner or his other cam partner, Dominic Szoboszlai, he is set to basic defensive support, balanced crossing runs, drift wide, of course, and aggressive interception. So he's going to help lead that counter press, that press from the forward line, that first wave of pressing. He is going to be involved in that. He's got a crazy amount of stamina, by the way, so it does suit him quite well. But basically, he's set to drift wide. This is more or less the Kevin De Bruyne role, where Salah can interchange with him and come inside, creating space for him to operate in the wide right channel, along with Trent, of course. And he will be able to fire in crosses to your forward line who are making forward runs. And it does build up quite well for Szoboszlai just to have a slightly different role, creating more space for Salah to cut in, because then it creates scoring opportunities for one of the most lethal wingers in the world. So it does get the best out of both positions for them. And then speaking of Salah and Diaz, they have got the same set of instructions. Both are set to come back on defense, stay wide, get in behind, get into the box, and normal interceptions. So you want them to stay wide, of course, because you want to create width, you want to draw the opposition out of position, you want to stretch them more or less, create space for Szoboszlai or McAllister to operate into, of course, Trent as well, and of course Darwin Núñez. But you also want them to come back on defense because it's a very narrow team if you take out the wingers. So you want them there to create the width for your team going forward. And of course, you want them to get in behind because they both have quite a lot of pace on them, loads of acceleration, draw the opposition out, get free runs in behind. I mean, I think Salah got the assist for Diaz's goal just by the fact that he made a great run in behind and I was able to pick him out with a great pass. And of course, both of them are set to get into the box. You want more attacking players in the box, and that is what Salah and Diaz are. As you can see, here are Diaz's set of instructions, exactly the same. Now, as for Darwin Núñez, he is set to stay central, mix attack, aggressive interceptions, and stay forward. He is going to be your most furthest forward attacking player. He's set to stay central. He can drift wide, but you want him to be your spearhead, your focal point in the attack. And he is set to a mixed set of attacking outlays, so default. I was thinking, just have him on running behind, but then it's kind of, you have Diaz doing that as well as Salah. So you kind of maybe don't want him to always have that. I mean, from time to time it's great, but you kind of do want him to be fighting as a target man, or sometimes playing as a false nine, dropping deep, or sometimes having the ability to run in behind. So you want him to be a jack of all trades, but more importantly, you want him to lead the aggressive counter press as well as the press with his aggressive interceptions. The press from the front is flipping important for Liverpool to try and replicate and recreate a successful system in the way Liverpool will play. So, enough said. I've spoken double the amount of time that you've seen here, peeps, and my voice is sore. So, if you could, smash the like button, subscribe if you are new, please. The road to 2,000 subscribers is on. We are almost there, not really, but subscribe. Every subscriber counts. But yes, I hope you guys have a damn great day, and I'm out.